Broadcasting live from the Avishkar Raceway on the plain of Avishkar, it's Tap Tap Concede.
Yeah, welcome everybody to Tap Tap Concede. My name is Graham. Joining me is Kathleen.
Hello.
And Shivam.
Hello. Oh my God, I've been so excited. I've always wanted to do that intro. Like I've been on like a handful of Tap Taps, but yeah, it's so cool.
Well, I'm happy to oblige. Before we get into it, I want to remind everybody at home that this show is brought to you by our friends at Card Kingdom. Please check out cardkingdom.com/LRR for all of your card-based needs. Remember, they'll ship sealed product anywhere in the U.S., but Wizards only lets them do that. But they'll ship singles anywhere in the world, and they have basically the best selection that you're going to find anywhere on the internet if you need to buy your cards there. And you can tell them Loading Ready Run sent me, button please, and they'll give you a little button. And I think we're still on Serving Commander. So that's fun. Also, want to shout out to Dragon Shield. You could use the code LRRMTG5 to get yourself a 5% discount on anything you buy on the Dragon Shield store. And of course, this show and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun or by becoming a member on this YouTube channel. And today on this YouTube channel, we have, as I mentioned, Shivam is here. We had the, at time that you're seeing this, we had the Avishkar, Ether Drift pre-release.
We will have had.
Yeah. This past Friday, on the 31st, and the VOD for that will already be available on this channel. So if you want to see a bunch of Ether Drift gameplay, you should definitely check that out. But I'm excited to have Shivam here because you were involved with the world building of at least a third of the planes on this set.
Yeah, talk to
us about that.
I got to live basically the Magic fan dream, and I got to be a consultant on Aether Drift, or whatever the set was called before, when it was just codenamed Tennis. And that,
1 sec. I'm just gonna you keep talking.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I got to be a consultant on Tennis, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever gotten to do, because every Magic fan in the world wants to sit and be able to work on a Magic set.
Yeah.
And they came to me and they're like, so we want to go back to Kaladesh. I'm like, yes, whatever you want. Whatever you want from me, I'll do it. I'm here. I'm sold. I will do whatever you're asking me to do. Because Kaladesh is my favorite plane and my favorite set. Not just because it was Indian themed, but that helped a lot, but also because mechanically and artistically it ruled, and I was super engrossed in it. Longtime listeners of Tap Tap Concede can go back like 6 years and check out the episodes I was on. The first episode I think I showed up on, where I did a Kaladesh deep dive and an Aether Revolt deep dive of the lore, where we sat and we went through every card, like not every card, but like a number of cards, and I told the stories. And
every card that had a notable story.
And like a cultural reference behind it. So like, I've been super stoked because this is a set that I love a lot.
But you were not without complaints,
no,
shall we say.
Because when you love something a lot, as we Magic fans know, you're going to see the things that it could do better. Right? And one of the long-standing complaints that not just me, but a lot of South Asian players of Magic have had was that Kaladesh was named very unfortunately. In that when they were looking up a set name, so Magic, when it does like ethnic sets in quotes, like for instance Kamigawa means spirit river. It thematically fits the vibe of the setting, and they were looking, let's find a Hindi or Indian word that we can name this set that we can give a cool vibe of engineering or technology or futurism. And like when you look at like the word Kala and you see it in universities and stuff, you'll see like School of Engineering, it'll have that word Kala in there as the engineering part. However, when you look at a dictionary definition of Kala has like 4, 5, 6, 7 definitions. Engineering is like 4th or 5th or 6th, somewhere deep down there. The number 1 and 2 are time, as in like Ma Kali, the Kali Ma, the goddess of time, and also goddess of destruction, but also Kala, the color black, as in like Kara, as in like it means black. It literally, like if you ask anybody, like the first word you think of when you hear the word Kala or see it written down is going to be black. And so Desh means land of or place of or people of. Like it's sort of the way the Stan in like Pakistan or Afghanistan or whatever means the land of the Afghans, land of the Kyrgyz or whatever. Like Bangladesh means the land of the Bangla people. And so when you see Kaladesh, you don't think land of engineering, because that's kind of doesn't make sense because engineering is not a people. But you see land of black people. But the problem is the way that racism works in the world is words for black tend to get slanged and slurred into meaning very derogatory words for black people. And gala, when you slang it in a way that I'm not going to do on the air because I don't want to give people more ammunition, you don't need to share slurs.
Smart.
But when you read it, if you're a South Asian of North India or Pakistan or Bangladesh who speaks a Sanskritic language, you're looking at it like, did you really just call it land of N-words? Like land of black people? Like, are you allowed to, like, for a set that was already teetering on the edge of being just like rebel without a cause, kind of whitewashed into, like brownwashed into just being like, you know, ooh, we're like rebellious racers, but we're Indians now. And it's like, so it's the Bay Area, and then you give it a derogatory name. And I was like, we could do better than that.
And now, was this like a sort of regional thing? Because I know that there's no shortage of languages spoken across India.
250 languages.
Yeah. And was this like a particular... Was this like, I mean, the way that you described it, were they like, was this more to do with basically just looking down the dictionary and being like, oh, this is a definition, cool? Or was this like a regional dialect thing?
Literally, like, you can tell that they were just like, we need word for engineering. Here's word for engineering. And they didn't, and I don't blame them. I don't blame WotC for this because this is the sort of thing that they would need cultural consultants for, because sometimes you miss the nuance. Like, you could sit there and say like, oh, this word and this word means land of engineering, sold, right? But if you don't look at the other definitions, even if you saw black land, that might be a little like weird, but it doesn't necessarily mean racism or like, you know, unpleasant meaning. Unless
you're in the culture.
At which point you're just like, holy crap. That's, and then like, you know, and the set itself had some weird, like, you know, they put the Oath of Ajani in there, making him look like the divine god, Narsimha, or they have like the 7-Eleven vehicle that was in there.
I was
just like, oh, this is all adding up to not great.
Yeah.
But like, and it's important to note, like, I accepted it and I was just like, look, they've named the set, they've made the set, they're not going to rename the set. Fine, I get it. It's just locked in stone, and it's not the worst in the world, but it's just uncomfortable. It's like, it's fine. It's edgy. But like, even during pre-release, people were giving me the thank you come agains, and I was like, oh, come on, we could do better than this. But I brought it up with Wizard of the Coast, and a lot of the people inside Wizard of the Coast were very shocked to find this, because obviously nobody sets out to make an inadvertent bad word set.
You're not trying to do that on purpose.
Yeah, no, why would you do that, right? And so like, because of that, they started integrating more cultural consultancy with like Kaya, and then with Ixtala and Kamigawa. All these other sets had more input from people of affected classes of people who were just like able to give them guidance and help them out. Like, I know that the audience, like, I got a lot of comments like, oh, must be a bunch of rich woke consultants who are, I'm like, no, dude, I'm just a player, and I just yelled at him a lot. And it wasn't just me. There were a number of us who were brought in to consult on Aether Drift. I'm just not naming them because I can handle it, but I don't want to bring this onto other people if they don't want to be public about it. That's their business, and They don't need to. But it was just like, and because people have come to me and like, why didn't you bring this up? And why haven't you been yelling this on Twitter like you do about everything else? I'm like, A, I can just go directly to the source. And B, really think about that for a second. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to just bring about a bunch of misunderstanding and unhappiness for something that by and large I was happy with, right? Like, I liked the set. I thought it was cool. So, but I had resigned myself. I was like, you know what? They're not going to come back.
Yeah. I will say, like, if this is the first you're hearing about it, when they announced that there was going to be a new name, there was the top comment on the Reddit thread was like, really? And then like the second most highest commented was like, yeah, South Asian here, that's not a good name.
Yeah.
No, that is
no.
Right.
We've been saying this for years.
We've just been quietly putting up with it.
Right. No, and it's like, because there are a lot of people like, it's just a made up word. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not.
You can't smash words in other languages together the same way that you do in English or like German or something like that.
And even then, though, it still got meaning. Like, it still got, like, even when you make when you see Japanese video games make fake American words and stuff, sometimes they end up on things that are very uncomforting for people who speak English. But it was just like kind of like we were just like rolling with it, right? Like a set came out 10 years ago, it's got a weird name. And people are like, well, this set came out 10 years ago. Why are you making me change it and say a different word? I'm like, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy, man. It's not going to kill you.
Although
we went from like Czech Republic to Czechia.
Yeah, right?
Like, we all got that.
And so I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say when Japanese game devs tried to make something that sounded American is when we got the most amazing baseball team of all time.
Oh yeah, right? Like our good
Mike Truck
and like
Sleeve McDykel.
McDykel, that's what it is. But you also get things like Cecil in Final Fantasy IV's son was named some just like, you look it up. You guys will find it. It's horrible. But so they were like, hey, you know what? You've been talking about this for a long time, and we are planning on going back to this set as part of this race set that we're building. And I was like, race? Like race cars and stuff and vroom vrooms? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, we're doing it again. Another Rebel Without a Cause time. But it was fine. I was like, okay, you know what? Racing is cool, and I love the idea of multiplanar racing. And they were like, yeah, we're planning on going to Kaladesh, Amonkhet, and Muruganda. And I'm like, oh, I'm sold. This is going to be so sick. And the first meeting they had, they call us in and they sit us down to talk about, like, they show us some of the artwork of the set. And they wanted to kind of, first off, feel out what our thoughts on old Kaladesh were. Because, like, they had a panel of South Asian players and consultants come in and virtually. And we sat and we talked about, with the creative team, the art team, the world builders, what was our feel of the original Kaladesh set? What did they do right? What did they do wrong? And it ended up being almost a full long set of like grievances of, look, dude, you can't have this name because it has been used against me and my kinfolk and my wife and my family by, it's a deeply, deeply disturbing and distressing term. And you could tell that the creative team was not, they were like, we can't change the name. It exists.
That's the name of the plane.
We've got a copyright. We got a thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, but you got to. like this is kind of the thing. But then this is what happens. Like we're sitting there talking, and I was just like, how do we get across that this can be done? And I was like, look, dude, I don't want you to retcon it. I don't want you to go back in time and pretend Kaladesh never existed. I don't want you to do all this real hacky whatever stuff. That's just weird and uncomfortable, and nobody likes that. However, the second set of the Kaladesh block was called Aether Revolt. What happens during revolts, Graham?
Rebranding.
Right. You change the flag, you change the name. And when I said that, you could see the light in these guys' eyes just kind of like, they were like, oh, we're going to need to have a conversation. We'll be back, But it's because like, and people are like, you can't do that. I'm like, well, Zaire is not Zaire anymore. It's like the Democratic Republic of Congo. Like there's a billion countries in the world that were something and are like East Pakistan and Bangladesh.
I literally listed one earlier that we had.
Yeah, Czechia.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, the Czech Republic was like, actually, screw that, and now we've got like Bosnia and Serbia and Czechia. And,
yeah, exactly.
When I was a kid, I had a jigsaw.
Bosnia and Serbia are Yugoslavia.
Yeah, but I had a.
We don't have that country anymore, though.
That's what I was going to say. I had a jigsaw puzzle of Europe, and it had Czechoslovakia and it had Yugoslavia,
and now it doesn't.
And now
it has a lot of them.
I don't know where that puzzle is.
Or like, you know what? I actually got it wrong because it was the old country was like Czechoslovakia, right?
Yeah, and then it became Czechia and Slovak Republic.
Right. That's it.
And then there's
Czechia is a real country. The point being, I, as a small child, definitely would have seen Czech Republic, and I had forgotten about it.
I mean, we've seen this all the time. This is a real world thing that happened, and it's totally reasonable and fine. Countries change their name. Mm-hmm. And you had a revolution where you overthrew the consulate, the fascist bosses who are running the place and are having freedom time. Why wouldn't you want to change the name to represent the new polity of the state who are much more, like trying for hope and justice and whatever it is they're going on?
And that's what I like about this so much is that, and to be clear, if they had just been like, we're just completely retconning it, it's always been Avishkar.
Fine.
It's I would have been like, okay, sure. Like I would have been fine with that. But I actually quite appreciate that's not the case. It was Kaladesh, and now it's Avishkar, both in and out of the world. In fact, actually, because I think that this one's been shown because of the Commander previews. Can we see Etherflux Conduit, James? This is from the new Pia Nalar Commander set.
And there's also one of the new Gear Hulks also has it.
So the flavor text on Etherflux Conduit, which, by the way, this card is messed up.
Bonkers.
As Kaladesh became Avishkar, Ether finally started flowing freely to all.
And if you can find the green-white, I think it was the green-white Gear Hulk, James, I don't remember what its name is.
Oh, that was one of the earliest.
It was like one of the first previews.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was where they officially announced the Avishkar title, but nobody caught it except for the folks who were on that little panel. And I sent a text message to my friend. I'm like, "We won!" And he was just like, "Oh my god!"
A new day dawns for Avishkar, and we shall draw our power from its light.
Yeah, so
because they previewed this card, but they hadn't said
what Avishkar is, or
where
anything.
It was, or what Avishkar was, or where this takes place. It just sort of like, boy, that really looks like. It's a Gear Hulk,
looks like
and it looks like something that was made on Kaladesh, but it says Avishkar here, so I don't know what's up with that. And then later they would actually explain it.
They didn't announce that they were changing the name, but like at one of the Magic Cons, remember the WotC staff came and was like, "Did they tell you?" I'm like, "Tell me what? We're changing the name." And I was like, "Oh." They didn't tell me what it was though, because they hadn't decided yet. And then later on, I got this cool spread. I mean, I'll explain the other parts of the world building too, because I got to see the whole guide. We got to look and see all of the creatures and all the land, the new gods. We got to see what they were doing and help them kind of come up with the new frog deity and the new cat guy.
Frog.
And they're so cool. They're so cool. But like the graffiti, I was so stoked about the graffiti that they created for Avishkar. The new kind of Hindi-esque, Devanagari-esque style font is so sick. And like we worked on like bringing things like Loxodon, and I was like, look, it's okay to have elephants, just don't make them have 4 arms, like don't pretend you're trying, don't make it look like a god, and you'll be fine, etc. That was a lot of what I did was like, hey, these things are cool ideas. You don't need to be this cautious. However, these things are things you should probably be cautious about.
Right?
Like don't put angels in the set, but
it's like you don't need to walk on eggshells, but here's a couple lines you shouldn't cross.
Here are some eggs that should stay shelled.
Yeah.
you know?
These you have to leave in the carton.
Yeah, exactly.
What a great...
I love that. I love that. Oh my God, that's so good.
Actually, so going back to a change that they made about a year or so ago with the...
Oh, the Rakshasa.
Yeah, the Rakshasas. Was that something you were aware of or involved in at all?
Here's the thing. Rakshas in Hindu culture is the demon. They're shape-changing demons. Generally, they take humanoid forms, and then they can shape-change into whatever they want. They're strong magicians. They're villains. They're very ego-driven and very, full of, like, lust and greed. And all the sins that Christianity likes to talk about are they're very base people. But they're not cats with backward claws. That is because Gary Gygax took that from a 1970s detective show that was set in San Francisco that had some Indian cultist and a weird cat demon that he saw and literally turned into Rakshasa for the Fiend Folio. And then over time, because somebody had drawn a cat in that first picture, when they made it to second edition, it became more cat-like. Third edition became more cat-like until it was like a bad game of telephone until we get to the point that in D&D and Magic, Rakshasa are just default cat sorcerers with backwards hands. And it's like, what the hell is this?
I had no idea that's where that came from.
Yeah, it was a whole long chain of really bad misinformation from a guy who didn't do any research. And I was always like, in D&D context, I always thought that was really just silly and kind of goofy and funny. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like insulting. It was just like, this is not what a Rakshasa is. It's stupid, but whatever, I guess. It's D&D. And when WotC changed it, blanketed changed to make all the Rakshasa are no longer cats. They're just demons now. And I was like, oh, cool. I mean, I've been asking for like 20 years or whatever. Not asking, but I've just been like, that's a doofy thing. And then they listened and did it, but I had no part in that. It was just, if they had asked me, I would have said, no, leave it alone. Who cares? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, they changed it, so it's neat. But if they didn't change it, I would not be losing sleep over it.
Because it's almost at this point so far removed.
It's like Shiva in Final Fantasy is a lesbian bicycle and not a meditating deity of destruction, right? Like,
they did make her a motorcycle, didn't they?
Yeah, and so
That
it's
was
like
weird.
kind of like whatever. It's you like some things are just okay. Like
I appreciate how chill you are about having like big parts of your like
my culture
we're
side.
just sort of like taken as like, oh, I like that name. And that's it, right?
Dude, I remember when Kaladesh came out, I was like, so you guys came to my house, took my wallpaper, and then left the rest of it behind.
My wallpaper.
Yeah, I was really just upset when it came out. I was like, there's nothing of Indian culture in here. And so I tried, especially in the story I integrated, I brought in real Indian foods that people would eat and real cultural references and real things that make it feel like it is set not just in Central California in a George Lucas film in the 1950s, but in an Indian-esque fantasy culture. And that's what my goal was with this. Not just like, oh, we're changing the name for woke. No, I'm like, I just want to make this feel, I want this to be for India what Theros is for Greece, what Kamigawa is for Japan, what Islam was for Central Asia, Central America, right? Like, I want it to feel like a place. Because when it feels like a place, you feel like you've got grounding and you've got story and you've got like discovery and you want to know more. And it's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, the thing I love about Magic and D&D is that I would read a word and then I would want to know more about that word and that place that that word is coming from. And then you learn all this and you get this whole huge, like, that's what makes diversity in fantasy cool. Because it teaches you cool things about, like all of us are like, oh yeah, we hate diversity in fantasy. But then you've got samurai and ninja. Those aren't from the West. Why do we love samurai and ninja? Because we were shown them and we're like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, there's a billion cultures out there that have their own samurai and ninjas. I want to show them off and be like, look at how cool this thing is. I want you to think it's cool too. That's why when like Naga were changed to snakes, I was kind of like, they did that not for any societal reason, but to just make creature types easier to group them. Because like, they're all snakes anyways. And I'm like, I wish they just kept the Nagas in like the name. Like, honestly, I don't care. Making them snakes makes them cooler and easier to use in other things. You can just call them Nagas. It's fine, because a Naga is a snake. It means snake.
Right, because this was Tarkir, right?
Yeah.
Where they had the Naga as a creature type.
Right.
But then they did a year or so ago, they did like a refining of where all the Nagas were down to snakes and all the Ainok were
dogs.
Because originally they were hounds. And it's like, why do we have dogs and hounds and wolves? So let's combine dogs and hounds.
They changed hounds to dogs.
Oh, that's what it was.
And then now we can have, because we had cats, but we didn't have dogs.
Yeah, and it was just like, why do we have hounds? Hounds are a type of dog. But like, Naga literally means snake. Like, when you look at Sheshnag, it is the multi-headed snake that Vishnu sits on, right? Like, or like, when you see, when you're walking in a farm in India and they're like, oh, there's a Nag over there. It's just a snake on the ground. It's a cobra. It's fine. So making it into snakes was just like, just thematically call them Naga. It's the same way we call goblins, or like, what is the word in like? There's one plane where like orcs or orgs or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah. It's what is it?
It was in Fallen Empire. I don't know, whatever. But like, we've got things in Magic where you've got thematic names for a set for a creature type that means something else, somewhere else.
And that makes sense also because again, when you're looking at creature typing in Magic, Fearless Hunter or Pride Malkin, which are just a cat.
Yeah.
Those are cats, but also Jedediah is a cat. And so it makes it's fine for like Ambush Viper is a snake. Also, that snake with 6 arms and 12 abs, that's also a snake. Right.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. I was just like people were mad at me for the Rakshasa Naga thing, and I'm like, literally had nothing to do with it. Didn't care one way or the other. It's neat that they thought of me.
You're public and vocal, and therefore an easy target, as you said.
You know what, man? It's a thing that I've been just like kind of snarky about over decades. It makes sense. But so the naming. So they came back with a spreadsheet of choices of names.
Oh, because I was going to ask, right? Because you said that they decided they were going to rename it, but they hadn't decided on a name yet.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Plane of Kaladesh again.
Yeah.
And so then they came
and like
they did involve you in that process.
They talked to a lot of consultants of different Indic cultures, and they also talked to me, and I don't know who else they talked to because this was via email direct to me. I don't know if they consulted with anybody else, but we got a list of names from like, here's the list names from Marathi, from Hindi, from Sanskrit, from Tamil, from whatever. And then I also submitted a list of other names. Like I thought about like Chamatkari, which means like magician in Hindi. And I was like, that would have been cool. But when I saw the list of names, among them was Avishkar, which means invention or like the miracle of creating something cool. And I was like, that word rules. It directly means invention. And also the miracle definition is also just sick. But then I was looking at it and I was like, and this is what I said in the spreadsheet when I emailed them back. I'm like, this passes the saffron olive test. This passes the ability that an average person not of my culture will be able to read this and say it in a way that does not make me want to rip my ears off. You know?
Yeah.
Even I can say it correctly.
Yeah, they do. They specified in the article when they announced this change that the stress is on the first syllable.
Yeah,
so
Avishkar.
Avishkar.
Not Avishkar.
But even if you didn't know that and read it Avishkar, that's not the end of the world.
It's like whatever. But
you could also, I guess,
it's the same word. You've just pronounced it badly.
Yeah.
I guess you could also say Avishkar, but that would be weird, and no one would do that.
Well, it could be because now we're driving.
Oh, everyone get in the Avishkar.
Beep, beep. Oh, we're definitely doing that. Get in the Avishkar. Oh my God. But yeah,
we're going racing. Get in, losers.
But also, I just thought it was a sick sounding name. I thought it was a really cool word, I thought it was a really cool vibe. And then also, I was like, let me write the story. And they're like, no, we will get a professional to write the story. And I'm like,
I've been asking to write
reasonable and
story.
fair. Reasonable and fair, Magic. I understand you. But like they got K.R. Snow Rivera to write the story. And I love her. She is amazing. And she did a fantastic story. And like, it's hard to write a lesbian romance / like, you know, break a daughter fighting against her father / defeating the last vestiges of fascism / let's go through 3 different planes and do that. Mm-hmm. But she managed to pull it together in a way that still felt like you're racing, which is very, very cool.
Nice.
And also they brought back my boy Boss Riquette.
Oh yeah.
Dude, when they showed us in the original art document, they're like, oh, and here's some of the characters we're going to bring back. Here's Sita Varma. She's like the main character of the story. And they gave us a bunch of different costumes and stuff to choose from. And I was like, that looks super sick. And long flowing green hair. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. And then they showed us, and I'm flipping the pages through, and I'm like, you're bringing Bossry back? Let's go.
He's a cat lord.
I was really disappointed when I saw the card.
No, Ben and I were talking about this.
Oh, you wanted soldiers.
I wanted soldiers. The first Bossry cared about soldiers.
Yeah, but now there's like probably a cat deck viable and standard, right?
Oh, hell
when
yeah.
he cycles this, cats you control gain indestructible. So just keep up the 3 for
this
cycling.
card rules.
This card.
For the benefit of our audio listeners, I'll just read this out. Basri, tomorrow's champion.
Also, great name.
Yeah, single white mana for a 2/1. So
that's a classic cat stat line.
That's a Savannah Lion.
Savannah Lion, of course he is.
And for white and tap and exert Basri, because of course Basri's from Amonkhet, so Basri can exert. Create a 1/1 white cat token with lifelink. Excellent.
Love it.
And then, cycling for 2 and a white. And
also an Amonkhet.
So you discard a card, draw a card, and when you cycle it, cats you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah, no, this card rules.
Yeah.
Like, it rules a lot, and, like, there's a lot of great white cats out there, and you can make an awesome commander deck out of this. You could put it into your Jedit Ojonin deck.
We did also recently have it confirmed, because we hypothesized this on a previous episode of Tap Tap. That watermark is indeed indicative of this is a desparked planeswalker.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So that's cool.
I think it's really cool that they do that.
Yeah.
I think it's a neat little just flavor vibe. And I also like the way that watermark looks with the lightning bolt kind of thing.
I also like that they teased this kind of on Helpful Hunter from Foundations, the cat with the feather in its mouth, because the flavor text is from Basri, and it's like, look at the noble hunter has returned.
Can I tell you, because I worked on the creative text for Foundations, it was Jay and Nelly who wrote that flavor text.
Wonderful.
But I can't speak to what Jay knows, because I know Jay works on a lot of stuff for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
But when we were submitting stuff like that, I had no idea that Basri would be coming out, because obviously if you work on Foundations, you have no idea what's coming out after it.
And Foundations is set outside of time.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, it was just, the art brief was just like, this is a cat on Amonkhet. And it's got right? This is an Amonkhet cat, basically, was the art brief.
Kitty cat.
And so, and I think Jay's thought was, hey, Basri's a character from Amonkhet. Great, let's put him on the card. I don't think Jay...
I think Jay was the one who told me to change the name. Oh, no, I might be blowing up his spot.
Mm-hmm.
Jay wrote that flavor text for the helpful hunter, but I don't think I mean maybe he did, but I had no idea. I just thought it was I thought it was a cool attribution. I was like, oh, what a great person to call back.
There was the one previous cat connection, which was the card Basri's Acolyte was a Leonin.
Yeah. That's true. And then if you read the side story, we're going to do a story podcast later, by the way. But if you read the side story, you can see that Basri loves cats so much he goes out into the desert and discovers a new cat god.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so James, can you pull up the first Basri cat for me? The old planeswalker from whatever it was.
M12 or what?
19, 20?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, 21.
Okay.
So, I have a story about Basri Cat here that's related to all this because I helped create this character.
Really?
Yeah. So at GDC in like 2018 or something like that, Watsy sent Allison Lures and one of the other gents with her, a dude who is the guy outside, along with Gavin Verhey, who created Brawl. And I took them to the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco because that's one of my favorite museums. And because they had time, they didn't have any panels, and so we were just walking around, and I was giving them a tour, and because I'm a talker, we went through the galleys, and I gave them, like, the histories of all the gods, and all the stories, and all the, the relevant lore and everything for, like, a 2-hour-long docent-led tour of me, and I was, at the same time, being like, also, magic hates religion. Maybe let's not be mean about that all the goddamn time, and, kill... Gideon finds his deity and his purpose, and you kill her in front of him. That sucked, and I didn't like that. And they were like, yeah, that kind of, yeah. And so later on, when they announced Basri Ket, they're like, hey, by the way, remember that talk we had when you were in the museum and telling us all about the gods and stuff? We made you a planeswalker who is a guy who sparks because of his divine, ecstatic experience, because he experiences the glory of Oketra, and he's finding his strength and his faith in religion, and this is a thing that makes him a better person, to help bring other people together, to help bring joy and strength, like all the things I was telling him about, of like, this is what we draw from this is a well of collective happiness and energy that we can bring to each other. And they're like, we liked that. So we were like, this is a guy who sparks happy. He does not have a traumatic incident, but he sparked because he was so overwhelmed with love and wanted to spread his, the joy that he was given by Oketra. And the reason I know that this was for me is, like, if you look at that negative ability, he makes soldier tokens.
Yeah.
And that is a very Shivam thing. And I was like, all right, that rules. So when I saw the new Basri coming back, I was just like, hell yeah, let's go.
I forgot, of course, that Oketra was the cat god.
Cat god.
And so that's why Basri.
And that's why there's the new god is Ketramos.
Ketramos. Actually, can we get a picture of Ketramos up? I said we were going to do I'm not going to do a full story breakdown.
Oh, I would also like to just give Shivam the runway to talk about any cards from
but in the story, Ketramos is has Oketra's bow.
Yeah.
And he introduces himself, I am her son.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have come to you because of your devotion, Basri, essentially.
And is that a destroyed Ronus's monument in the back? Or is that...
Yeah, it's a Ronus's monument, for sure.
Okay, sweet.
Probably.
Maybe? I don't know.
Or is it a half of a bolus horn?
But
it's probably half of a bolus horn, actually.
I
You
see
can
the other half.
in the background.
Yeah, fair, okay, but I want it to be a Ronus's monument.
Me too.
Also, I pulled this card in my PPR deck. Doesn't really work in limited.
No, that's a commander card.
I don't know how you're going to get some cards
probably
exiled.
make it work in standard, but it's like, but also let the past die so the future might live is also just relevant to this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let it go and let's build anew. And Ketramos means like son of Oketra in Egyptian, based on Jamek. I forget what his actual name is, but the flavor text writer who got to name this card. And I don't know. I was so stoked that A, they're bringing new god to Amonkhet. B, we're getting a new Oketra god. C, we're getting, and in the story, Basri has a moment with the deity. And I was like, yes, this is what I want this character to have. I want him to finally find his place again. And I want him to find his joy again. And I was like, this Magic has so few moments of happiness and of just like, getting your reward and being like, yeah, we did it. Let's go and adventure together.
Well, I will say, from a storytelling point of view, they all sit around and had tea and ate biscuits. It's great for them, but it's not very exciting for us.
Right. But like, Ketramos is talking to Chandra and Chandra Nalar, and he's like, tell me about these other worlds that exist. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's go. Let's get Bosri and some Omen paths with Ketramos going off to spread the word of cats. Yes. But it's like, it's so cool. And I think Bosri is super cool. And I'm really excited for what the story, like the idea of the Omen paths and running through the Omen paths. And they were showing us like, what do these like gateways look like in the permanent gateways?
Right, because you would have seen this a long time before anybody else got to find out.
We saw this stuff before we knew what War of the Spark was. Before War of the Spark had come out.
Surely not War of the Spark.
Not War of the Spark.
March of the Machine? Okay, there
it was before March of the Machine was when I was working on this. And I'm just like, no way! What the hell's an Omen path? Oh my God, what happened? And then they're like, yeah, if you tell anybody, we will kill you. And I was like,
I mean, surely they meant in the legal sense.
No, and
it was, they
certainly did not offer to kill me.
It's funny because when Kathleen and I were working on flavor text for Murders at Karlov Manor, right? They were like, also there's this guy named Kellen. He's there. Don't worry about that. He's got an adventure. Don't worry about it. And we're like, what? Who is this character? And they're like,
I was like, I need more tasting notes if I'm gonna like tell me what he's like. If I'm gonna suggest a name for him, I did get his. I think I named him and his adventure in MKM though.
Yeah, because we didn't know. I was
like, tell me what
we didn't know then about because Wilds of Eldraine hadn't come out yet, and we weren't on that team, right?
That's one of the weird things about.
So weird.
That's one of the weird things about working on a set this far in advance. Is like, I don't know, and they're not going to tell me.
No,
they're not going to tell me what happens in March of the Machine, and I'm just like, oh, the Phyrexians. They're Omen. Oh, and it looked so sick.
I mean, you have to assume at that point that if they're going on like a fun, wacky races between three different planes, that the Phyrexians did not succeed in taking over the entire multiverse.
I was very happy to see this.
Yeah.
No.
But
is there anything? Is there any?
I do want to say,
from the set,
that they did also have Egyptian consultants come in and talk about it, because obviously Amonkhet is not my specialty, but I did get to read the stories and just give them kind of a vibe check. They did not have any Frank Frazetta pulp consultants, though. I'm afraid Muruganda is consultantless.
However,
no ooze representation.
If you like traditional Conan the Barbarian style stories, the side story that is set on Muruganda is written in the style of a pulp.
Oh, it's so good.
Fantasy.
That's fun.
I appreciate it as a style point of view. I don't love writing like that. I struggle with it.
I'm a huge pulp fan. I was super here for it.
But it's cool.
It's
super cool. I love that they're taking the creative risks and that they're leaning into this. And this is the kind of story you get to tell when you're on Muruganda and you summon your mighty raptor and you do battle with the strange beasts.
The one thing
you cleave their head with your axe.
Yeah, right. Like that's what I want. I wanted like good pulpy adventure fun, and I was super stoked to see that. The one thing I was sad about was like I proposed to them to make a rickshaw vehicle that you could drive through in the race, because I'm like, if you're gonna go wacky racers, you got to get like 38 people hanging out the back of a rickshaw the way they do. And like if you go Google like the way Indians go to school in India and you see all the little children hanging on this tiny 3-wheeled open scooter, it is the funniest thing in the world. Or like, an ox cart. They have an ox cart though, didn't they? I think they made like an ox driven cart of some kind.
I think.
But I thought it would be really funny to just have like farm vehicles getting to go racing. And Vin also looked super sick. Nix, whatever his name is. The eyeball. Eyeball announcer.
The Kylim eyeball announcer, because he is from.
He's from. They're from.
They're from.
Mana Clash? No, what was it called?
I
think I still have it installed. There was this.
It was the Magic Online.
Mana Strike.
Mana Strike. No, Mana something. Was it Mana Strike?
Not Mana Strike. The other one. Shoot.
Was it Mana
I
Clash?
do not remember what either of you are talking about.
So, okay.
There was a mobile app that Wizards had made.
They made this mobile app. They basically sort of tried to make like a Hearthstone adjacent version of Magic the Gathering.
It was interesting.
And then they worked on it for years. They teased it once, then they didn't say anything else about it, and then they released it with zero fanfare or marketing. It just came out one day, and clearly the people who had been really supporting it internally didn't work there anymore, and no one cared about this thing, and it just died.
Yeah.
But the people that worked on the flavor text for it. I know that Allison put so much work. I know that other people did as well, but Allison in particular put in a bunch of work into the flavor of this thing, because the whole idea was that you play these planeswalkers having like friendly battles on Kylum, which is the setting for Battle Bond. And a character invented for this app was the master of ceremonies for these battles, and it was one of the homunculi, and I can't pronounce it. But anyway, Vinskowitz or something. Anyway, so
something.
They are now
it's a card
in the set, which is exciting. It's James, if you were able to find it, I think it's
VN something.
VX, isn't
VXN?
It starts with a V.
It starts with a V. It's a blue homunculus that starts with a V.
It's a homunculus going like this.
It's got start your engines.
Yeah.
Anyway,
stylish.
So
The other arm.
So this character is
eyeball.
from this app that like lasted about 3 days.
I
didn't.
I got to play in the.
I played it. I downloaded it.
I played the friends and family version of it. It was a lot of fun.
It was all right.
It was fine.
It was weird. It was
had
like
a really cool alternate art Gideon. I remember with like full armor. There it is. Vinwixt,
verbose host. One in a blue for a 0/4 legendary creature homunculus with start your engines. If you are at max speed, then if you would draw a card, you draw 2 cards instead, and also just statically, you have no maximum hand size.
The card is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also we got to pick the costume for him and figure out what he's going to look like. They had all sorts of different turbans and everything. But it was just super fun to be like working on what these backgrounds and what these little story elements are that they can then draw from to build Avishkar out. Because if they are, like the story is leading us to believe, they're building a new hub world of magic, which is going to kind of be based around Avishkar with all these, because Avishkar wants to leverage its soft power, having all these stable omen paths and its currency and food and everything, and spread its culture around. That's why they're having this race.
What is the currency of Avishkar?
Beats the hell out of me.
Oh, okay. Because I had a throwaway line in by Law and Order 2 where I was trying to figure out what the currency of Kaladesh was. So I said a Kaladeshi consulate chit.
Yeah, something, I don't know.
Something boring for the
You
consulate.
should call it rupees. It would be fun. But
we can say they're Avishkar rupees now.
yeah, right? We can call
Are you saying
Avishkar.
that's what? If I ever do another Magic D&D thing, I'll need to know what the money is called.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I think rupees is totally fun.
Avishkari rupees, perfect.
But we don't know. It could be in the story, and I could have just glossed past it. However, it was just neat, and like the fact that they're building this world out gives me hope that they're going to go back and give it a good full set treatment. But because like that's the thing about Aether Drift is like when I saw the set and started looking at it, I was a little disappointed because it is very, very heavily race cars and like very heavily on the all the cards are very much thematically drivey cars. And all the in jokes and there's stick shift jokes or like refueling your engines or what. It could have been anywhere in any plane car setting. And I get it. That's fair and fine. You built a driving set and then you put it into these locations for background flavor, which is cool.
And they fixed the background flavor.
Yeah,
that was wrong.
And I think it's rad and I think it's really cool. I was just like, I would have liked to have seen a real Avishkar set, but
maybe later.
Ketramos willing, we will get more, and it'll be really cool.
Well, it sounds like Avishkar and Ravnica have the same plan.
Oh yeah, I think that would be a really cool duel, though, wouldn't it? Like Ravnica and the guild versus Avishkar, like just kind of like technologists.
Guilds versus gods.
Well, there are no gods on.
No, I was thinking of Amonkhet.
But that would be really sick title too for the new Capenna boxing. Guilds versus gods.
So is there anything from the set, because at the time that this has been released, the whole set will be out. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to just pop off about? Just like, this card is cool for these reasons.
So there's a card that's a scoreboard or something like that.
Yes.
Like that's the one that has all the cool graffiti, and I want to show it off to the people.
Oh yeah, I love this because I did see they were talking about this.
Yeah.
They talked about the graffiti because it's less so in North America where it's treated very negatively, but when we went to MagicCon in Barcelona and then took the train through France, and then when we were in Berlin and went to MagicCon in Amsterdam, there's graffiti everywhere in cities. Cities just have graffiti, and it's not
cool.
unattractive.
Fine.
It kind of rocks.
Yeah, it just adds a little bit of it
Flair
adds some
and native character.
Yeah.
some visual texture.
And I love that the art direction for this was like, hey, Avishkar is a huge. I mean, the
Giripur.
Yeah, Giripur is a huge city. There's probably, especially a huge city that's just had a revolution. Yeah. There's probably going to be graffiti there.
And if you remember from Aether Revolt, there were all those people tagging the revolutionary symbol all over the place.
Yeah,
that's what they were doing in all the revolutionary cards, and so it makes sense that they would do this. But like on this card, you can see clearly. I mean, it's hard because it's small. Wizards has a full size art of this, but you can see the script that they did there, and it just looks so sick. And if you look, Schmandrew did in one of the collector boosters. Schmandrew did what the hell was that card though? The 2/1 vigilance vehicle.
Oh shoot! I got
Skyline something.
If you try to find it.
Actually, yeah, if you can find the collector booster version of that by Schmandrew, it's got the graffiti boldly in the background.
Oh,
and I think it looks really really cool. I love Schmandrew. He did the art for Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic, and made me and Wheeler look just like adorable chibi little guys riding on Coke shows back. But what the hell was that card called? Sky something?
Air Response Unit.
Air Response Unit.
This one is on Scryfall.
Yes.
Yeah, Air Response Unit and Earth Rumbler, actually. Schmandrew did both of these.
If you look at the back of Air Response Unit.
Big graffiti.
In the Air Response Unit, the 2 in a white 3/3 flying vigilance vehicle with crew one. If you look at the back, it's this it's a Thopter thing just flying through in front of this giant wall where the graffito has been scattered all over the place, and it's just that looks so cool. It's so fluid looking, and it feels like language that was developed by a tagger. You know, when you look for instance Korean, which was handmade by the Josons to basically fit the language the way it looks and speaks. This tagging feels that same way. And it's just very, very sick, very fluid and very cool. And also Earth Rumbler is just a sick card.
And these cards
art is
look
so
gorgeous.
Good, man. The art in this set is so good. I'm just seeing the Gearhulks again and seeing all the filigree work and all the everything of this set. The Loxodon with the little light bulbs on his tusks just looks really cool.
Oh yeah, I love that detail.
Yeah, and I was like, that fits. That feels really neat. Yeah, people are like, oh my god, you made a Kaladeshi Loxodon. It's like, yeah, well, I understand why they didn't want to go with elephants in the first place because I was a little on the fence about it myself. But then I'm like, Loxodon are cool.
Yeah.
And as long as...
And like you said, they're not trying to make it...
Yeah, it doesn't have 4 arms. It doesn't look like a god. It's just a surveyor. It's just a dude with bulbs. And I'm like, this is sick.
What's the one that has the fully there's another Loxodon that we've seen that has fully full bulbs at the end of each tusk.
I don't remember the name of it, but I saw it. I'm still getting used to all the names of this set.
Right, because of course they're all new.
When we're recording this,
it hasn't come out yet.
It hasn't come out yet.
We haven't had the PPR yet, so we haven't had a whole day of sitting around looking at the card.
Pima Trailblazer from the Commander set. Also, this card's messed up, by the way. Pima Trailblazer. It's 2 and a green for a 3/3 with trample, which is already I'm in. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy. And it has exhaust, pays 6 energy, put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature, then draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So it's like the Rishkar's expertise.
And think about look at how much energy you're going to get off this guy. It's so good.
Oh,
yeah, this is messed up, actually.
Energy is pretty messed up. This is so unrelated. I just played the energy commander deck.
Satya, yeah.
Satya. With
Satya.
Yeah, Satya. See, it's right here. Can you read it?
No.
Satya.
Yeah.
No. There's no there. There's the if you can't see my tattoo, but my tattoo literally says Satya. So that's why I was super stoked to see.
Why does your tattoo say Satya?
Satya means truth.
Oh.
And my guru wrote it on my hand when I was 18 years old. I got truth, and then on this side I've got bhakti, which means devotion.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on EDSC, which you should watch if you haven't seen it.
It's a very funny episode of EDSC.
Super funny.
I was like, okay, well, I've never played this deck before, and I don't really play with energy that much. But you know what? I'm gonna think big.
Oh my god!
Can I have an energy counter? And you know what? Give me a D20. I'm going to be optimistic. And like all the comments were like, oh, honey, you're going to need more than 1d20, baby. If
you're going to need a bag of them, girl.
Yeah, no, it was unhinged.
I was going to come to this PPR dressed as Satya, but I did not have enough time because reasons we got here very quickly at short notice and I couldn't put it together. But man, that card and that character are so cool.
So cool.
And I'm so excited. I don't know.
Any other cards you particularly want to highlight that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, the new Sahili. Sahili from the Commander deck.
Ooh.
If you look at her, I think that's a good place to probably call it. But that's like, that card just, the artwork is unbelievably good.
Gorgeous. This is Sahili Radiant Creator.
Yeah.
1 green, blue, red for a 4/4 human artificer. This is from the Pia Nalar deck.
This is the face of that deck.
Oh, okay. Whenever you cast an artificer or artifact, you get 1 energy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy, or Threnergy. And when you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact in addition to its other types and has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step.
That is so messed up. That is so messed up.
So Sahili's the face of the deck? I thought it was Pia. Okay.
I mean, Pia's cool too. Pia looks sick.
So we got Sahili, we got Pia, we've got that stupid conduit that's going to be a big problem.
Where it's like pay 50 energy and it's like, you're fine.
Yeah, dude, I saw that deck and it is my dream Teamer Energy deck. It's like the one I've been begging them to make forever, and I'm like, oh, this is all I want in life. This is going to be so sick.
Boy.
But this Sahili, when you look at her, they've changed up her design a bit. They've given her this really great ordney. That's the cloth that's around her neck. Bright green. She's got greens and purples and vibrant lavenders. The color is much more like she's integrated green because like before she was just red and blues, but now she's integrated green because her girlfriend is Watley.
Yeah.
You can see the feathers on her shoulder there. But like this feels so much more Indian. This feels so much more like what people wear. And it's vibrant and cool. And like I talked to them specifically about having that ordinary around her because if you're walking around with the Punjabi suit in India, with the top being the long kind of tunic and then the pants that you see women wear in North India, they will always have this shoulder cloth around the front of them for modesty reasons because it kind of just covers their bust area, even though they're wearing fully clothed. But it feels like when you see somebody wearing that kind of tunic and pants without one, it feels weird. It feels like vaguely uncomforting.
It would be like if somebody is wearing like a 3-piece suit with a vest, but they don't have the shirt underneath, so it's just vest, jacket, and it's like, that's not right.
Honestly, this might just be my age here. It's like watching somebody wearing a suit and a dress shirt buttoned all the way up, but no tie. And I'm like, that's really just, for me, that's very uncomforting. I know that it's just a style for people to wear. But also, I was like, look, put an ordinary on her. It'll look sick. And it does.
It does.
It looks absolutely sick. And then the whole design and the vibrancy of this artwork and the artist, Hernando Souza, made her look like an actual Indian person. And I'm not saying the previous Sahilis didn't. They definitely did. But this one feels like you could see her walking down the street. And I'm like, this rules. This is what I hoped for. And I got to tell you, man, I am over the moon about the changes that WotC has made and about what it looked like in practice in the set. I think the foundation that they've laid and what they came out with in Aether Drift are just absolute bangers. And I could not be more... real talk. I spent a decade of my life fighting to try to get WotC to recognize that this was a problem and to recognize that my culture is not just a costume and that we have things to add and things to appreciate. And they did. And they listened and they came to me and they came to others in my community and they got feedback and they followed through and it rules. Like, this is everything I wanted it to be. I'm unbelievably stoked. I'm so happy.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today and for telling us about how cool this all is. This
it's so
great.
Cool. It's so cool. And also, how sick is it that I got to rename a plane?
Yeah, right.
Like, how cool is that?
I know.
Come on.
That's so great. But that's going to do it for this episode of Tap Tap Concede. If you haven't checked out the PPR yet, that video will be on this channel, so please do give that a look. It's going to be... we haven't done it yet, when we're recording this, but I know it's going to be a fun time. And there's also a collector booster video, Crack a Pack with myself and Shivam, so check that out too. And when you're not doing all these things on our channel, where can people find your stuff?
Well, as it happened, I have a podcast called Casual Magic with Shivam Bhatt that comes out every Tuesday. It's an interview show where I talk to people in and around the Magic community, and we talk about Magic or not, casually. Sometimes it's just, hey, you play Magic, but we're just talking about stuff. It's a really fun show, and I really enjoy it. And also, I do a show with one of your compatriots, Ben Wheeler. We do a show called Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic. Literally what it says on the tin. We're two dudes who absolutely love everything about this game, take a set at a time every episode, and just go through every cool card in it for literal hours. And I mean like 2 to 4 to 6 hours of just, oh my God, dude, do you remember this card? It's the coolest card in the world. Holy crap, I love that card, dude. And then we got like Schmandrew to do artwork. We used a leftover music track from the Kamigawa soundtrack as our opening song. It is literally just a love affair to Magic, and we put that out every other Monday. And then I'm also on the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast because I really like to just hear myself talk. So,
and you like Dragonlance.
Yeah, and I love Dragonlance. And my friend's like, hey, you want to just read these books and talk about them? So we do a show where we read Dragonlance books and talk about them. Yeah. And you can also see me on like half a dozen Tap Concedes through history.
Tap Concede, which I reiterate to you is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. Putting that little code on there helps us out a lot because it tells them that we've sent you over there. And don't forget to ask for a button. They're a great place to buy your Magic cards. Also, shout out to Dragon Shield. Use the code LRRMTG5 to get yourself a 5% discount. And of course, most importantly, this and everything we do is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun or by becoming a member on this YouTube channel. Until next time, I have been Graham, joined by Kathleen.
Bye.
And special guest, Shivam Bhatt.
Thank you for having me.
James has been on Tech. Heather gets these online. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.